Good evening and welcome to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen Workshop. It is January 6, 2026. It is 5:30 p.m. The prayer on Thursday night will be with Vice Mayor No, the Pledge of Allegiance with Alderman Coates. Everyone should have a copy of the minutes from the December 2nd, 2025 workshop and the December 4th regular meeting. We will have certificates of recognition on Thursday for our Laverne High School welding class. And we had no one sign up for the public comment period. We will have departmental reports on Thursday, which I'm sure that's why Dwayne Lowry is here. He's very excited about those. Moving on to the consent agenda. First item is approve or reject city bids and purchases. We've got an HGAC contract purchase, personal protective equipment for the fire department. And this is about $28,000 worth of equipment. It's 6 sets of personal protective equipment, basically turnout gear. Anyone have any questions on this? Moving on to B, which is approve the Middle Tennessee Electric Utility Relocation Agreement for the relocation of electrical utilities for the Waldron Road widening project. This is just as it sounds. I know Kyle Brown has been working on this with Middle Tennessee Electric. I believe Gary has as well. Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, we're gonna have the approved memorandum of understanding with Motlow State Community College for emergency medical training, technician training for the fire department. Again, this is an item we do yearly. Any questions on that? Moving on to D, approve athletic facility reservation for YMCA soccer to use a field at Veterans Memorial Park. This would be for the youth soccer program, and it would be for March of this year through May 16th. Does anyone have any questions? Moving on to approve an agreement for engineering services with CTI regarding the North Clayton Estates Interceptor Sewer Project. And this is total estimated cost for this is $265,250, and it'll come from the recent water and sewer bond. Does anyone have any questions? Then moving on to F, approve estimated lease rate quote with Enterprise to lease one vehicle for the engineering department. And this is monthly $798.07 for 60 months. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, moving on to new business. First reading ordinance 2026-01, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2025-2026 general fund budget. And this is a budget amendment that is tied to that enterprise lease. Does anyone have any questions? Number 7, first reading ordinance 2026-2, an ordinance to amend Title II, Chapter 2 of the Laverne Municipal Code regarding the duties of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee and deleting Title II, Chapter 4 of the Laverne Municipal Code regarding the Beautification Arts and Advisory Committee. And this is just like it sounds. I was not here for the discussion last month, but my understanding is that this is essentially to roll beautification, which has the responsibilities of both the Beautification Committee and the Greenway Committee, into the Parks and Recreation. I know with Greenway there wasn't a whole lot of activity, but I know there were multiple opportunities with the Beautification Committee, so I'm kind of curious as to this rolling into.
David? I'll explain it, but he's better.
Y'all go to the same barber.
Board, thank you. Alderwoman Hobbs brought this to us. It's hard to get a quorum for that board. We have not had a quorum probably in well over a year. And that was her thoughts and mine also, and the vice mayor's thought that the parks could take those duties on. Our parks meeting been running about 30 minutes, so I don't see an issue with personally parks taking over those duties.
Now, we did talk a little bit about a contingency as far as things, if they ended up getting money for the greenway and things, that we could do something different.
And that would probably have to come back before this
Right.
board also. There's no money currently allotted for the greenway in this year's budget. That'd have to be proposed for next year's budget, starting July 2026.
With the attendance issues with getting a quorum for beautification, was it all the various members? Was it just specific members? Because I know the chair has the ability to recommend to this board removing if that's an issue.
I think the most we have had show up, probably best recollection last year and a half, 2 years, has probably been 2 members at the most. It got to the point where we were sending out multiple notifications just to see if we were going to have anybody attend, and 9 times out of 10, we ended up canceling ahead of time due to lack of interest. I probably recall maybe one time in the last 6 years that the parks has not had a meeting, so that board's pretty steady. They're going to show up. We very seldom cancel for not having a quorum on that board. So rolling the duties into that is kind of favorable for us, but that'd be up to this board.
I'm comfortable the way it was. Alderman Hobbs discussed it with the issues that she's been having and with the budget the way it's set up. I'm okay with going and join them together now, and then if things do proceed with other funding, then we can always separate them back out at a later date.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to Resolution 2026-01, resolution to implement the Jackson Law in Laverne, Tennessee for new and existing landfills and solid waste processing facilities. This is just the city adopting the Jackson Law. Both the city of Murfreesboro, the town of Smyrna, Rutherford County have all adopted it. It essentially gives local approval should anyone try to start privately owned landfills, solid waste facilities. And so this just gives us more control. Does anyone have any questions? Moving on to number 9. Resolution 2026-12, resolution to request the United States Congress appropriate funding for the purpose of constructing a new air traffic control tower at the Smyrna Rutherford County Airport. Alderman Coach, do you want to speak on this first?
Sure, of course, yes. The existing tower was built in the 40s, and so it's been upgraded through the years, but it's now time, it's had its day, shall we say. And so with the Airport Authority, which the board I sit on, representing Laverne, we've been working with the FAA to fund a new tower. They are very expensive. And Mr. Stevens there has been doing a very good job of going to around the necessary politicians up in Washington to try and get this funded. And it is coming to fruition. What we're trying to do is to get each of the municipalities, say Laverne, Smyrna and Murfreesboro, to do this resolution just to help push the fact that the funding is needed for the new control tower.
Correct. And Representative Robert Stevens requested that we put this resolution before the board, and this will then go, a copy of this will go to Representative Desjardins, who is pushing for that funding at the federal level.
So they're trying to get all of us in the county to come together to show the Congress that we're all for this and to make it stronger?
Correct.
Because I got an email from some reporter wanting me to give an interview about this. I didn't have a clue. I referred them to Donna. So.
Well, we talked to a reporter today about this,
Yeah.
so. But hopefully this will be something that's beneficial countywide. Any other questions? Number 10, Resolution 2026-03, resolution to amend the employee handbook. And this is something that I requested. It's essentially adopting the IHRA working definition of anti-Semitism into our handbook. And for those that don't know, that's the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. And it has very specific language in regards to anti-Semitism. Multiple cities across the nation are being asked to adopt this in the wake of everything that's been going on with the last year. Does anyone have any questions?
Has there been issues with this kind of stuff that this has to be?
In the city, no, we haven't. But again, this is, we like to both plan for now and plan for the future.
Okay.
Moving on to number 11, motion to appoint a new city recorder. And if everyone has not met him yet, Joshua Miller is our new, as we would like, city recorder, but we have to appoint him as the city recorder. So it's either that or we have to go with Michael Dietz and have him record everything.
I make a motion to approve.
So, any questions on that? If you haven't had a chance, please be sure to introduce yourself and get to know him. Next, we've got appoint or remove board or committee members. First, we've got the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. We've got one term vacant, and we've got one term that expired at the end of last year. That'd be Kevin Oliver, and then we have a vacant term. And so at this point, it's being advertised on social media. Mr. Oliver has said that he wishes to remain on this board, and at this point, nobody else has applied for that vacant position. If anyone does apply before our meeting, they will be added to this, so they can apply online or in person at City Hall.
So if they apply tomorrow, it'll go on Thursdays?
Yeah. Yes.
By noon on Thursday, we'll still get it in.
Okay, next we've got the beer board. We've got one term that expired on December 31st, and that is Jennifer Maxey, who is the chairwoman of that board. She would like to remain on that board, but we have been advertising that, and no one else has applied so far. So that will be on the agenda Thursday. Next, we have the library board. We have multiple openings there. We've got a vacant vice chair position, and then we've got two terms that have expired, Kayla Koister and a gentleman by the name Glenn Green. And so and I think I have as well. We currently have Carol Brown, Marcia Dickerson, and Glenn Green as our current applicants for that board. So this will be on the agenda for Thursday night. Moving on to the Stormwater Appeals and Advisory Board, we've got one term that expired on December 31st. That would be our chair, Mr. Earl Garvin Jr. He does wish to remain on the board, but we are advertising this. So this will be on the agenda for Thursday. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, next item is an FYI. First Amendment to the Purchase and Sale Agreement with Guernsey Holdings, ZRC, Propco, LLC for the Stormwater Building located at 5175 Murfreesboro Road. And this is just an FYI about an extension that was for 60 days starting October 13th of 2025. And so at this point that should have come and gone. And I believe we may have an email from them about further details, but we can address that whenever we get all of the specifics on that. The next item, we've got discussion, J. Percy Priest, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, water relocation. study letter of intent, and this is, again, for the workshop. So the total amount for the study that we are discussing about partnering with other municipalities and doing it has increased from $1.3 million to roughly $2 million. And so the city's portion could be up to $300,000 for our portion. Is that fair to say, Kyle?
Yes, I just wanted to put this on as an FYI. Like what you stated, we entered into an agreement with CUD, Murfreesboro, and Smyrna to contact the Corps about water supply. And when we did, of course, they have a representative from the Corps has asked that we send a letter in stating that we're all, participating in this and are on board with the contributed funds. One thing I mainly wanted to point out was the increase in the cost. A typical reallocation study is $1.3 million. That's kind of what the figure was whenever we first discussed this. Just wanted to point out that when the Corps said, hey, we need this letter that y'all are all willing to participate in it, they did give us an estimate of $2 million. And the reason they gave was 1.3 is a typical reallocation time frame or study. They know how much time goes into that, and since they're doing a seasonal approach, a little bit different, it's going to take a little bit more man hours and time. So they give us an estimate of $2 million. And of course, at this point in time, it's still not a contract. It would basically be just a letter, as it states in here, just letting them know that we all agree to do the contributed funds if and when they approve it. And then, of course, at that point in time, we would probably get a contract from the Corps with each entity to state what our, responsibility was and stuff. Just wanted to keep y'all aware of where we're at on it.
Okay. Any questions?
Interesting.
Okay, the last item we've got is the discussion on food trucks, which Vice Mayor No asked for. Vice Mayor No?
Yep. This came up several months ago, and I think it's been brought up before. And to put it in terms, we need to either kick this thing down the road, sweep it under the rug and be done with it, or we need to make a decision. So I had some thoughts about some hours and times and things. I even talked with Bruce a little bit. But since then, I've changed my mind, and I asked Tom Broker to be here. And looking at it from an economic standpoint, I think it's fair to say that every department, codes especially, planning, us, we have been trying for years to help clean up, especially Murfreesboro Road, and we've been doing a great job with the overlay district and what codes has been doing. I was hoping that Joe would be here because I spoke with him a little bit, but I think we need to make a decision on this and do something. But I'm going to call Tom up here. One of the things that Tom said to me that I never thought about, and I'll let him tell you, was what the people that was coming into the city to look at Laverne, particularly Murfreesboro Road, what those people said to him about these food trucks. Tom?
Well, I think on that front, it's pretty much been brought up to every time I do a tour with someone that's coming in. They question what's allowed, what isn't allowed. I feel they are a deterrent just because of the questions and what's being asked around them. Or ask me in other words, what do they have to do? I think we talked about this last spring, and there were pretty good answers from Bo and Joe as well. We're working very hard on bringing in some brick and mortar restaurants and so on. And I guess it comes down to y'all. What is your standards that you all want to set, not just now but into the future? Is that what the face? Is that what you want people to see in Laverne as you drive through? And please hear this. I said in the beginning when you asked me 6 months ago, I have nothing against people trying to make money or make a living in food trucks, but I do have a problem with it competing in what we're trying to do long term as goals as far as bringing in quality restaurants, quality retail, quality commercial. What I did do, Vice Mayor, after you asked me, is we kind of, Missy and Sarah and I pulled together what's happening around us. And if you don't mind, I'm going to bring these up to y'all.
Glad to see you off your deathbed, Bob.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm glad to be off the hook now. So, really, if you go to the second page first, I don't know why we put it this way, but here's just 4 different cities. And I found it pretty eye-opening on what we talked about, what's allowed around us, I think 6 months ago and so on. The one thing that I'm seeing is this: they don't allow it just to be stationary and is permanent. I want to say it's Smyrna that they're not allowed to be in one place for more than 10 days and over one particular place over 10 days. And of course, you can read it. They have to go home at the end of the night. They have to pick up around them. All these different things. They're not allowed in commercial areas in other areas. They're not allowed with the lights and the whistles and the music that kind of draw attention. And again, you draw your own conclusion, but is that really what we want on our main retail corridors? So in some areas we put where the permitting fees are compared to ours. There's not really much difference there. But most people do not allow it in commercial zone. They allow it maybe at residential areas. They can come through. They certainly allow it in industrial areas where the food trucks will pull up and feed the workers and so on. But just to sit in front of a business and again, it's whatever you all choose. But to me, if you're asking me in my role, has it been something where people have asked what's going on with these? And if you really look at it, kind of like Bo said back in I think March of last year, we're putting all these regulations on our overlay and what kind of materials I have to use and how many parking spots and of course they're bringing in major sales tax dollars or much more than I'd say if we are even getting these sales tax dollars from some of these food trucks. They're forced to go to all these requirements, and yet these food trucks can just roll up and do whatever. Here's what I see: a lot of times these people live in Nashville. Trucks may be registered, taxed in Nashville. We're getting nothing for it. Maybe our residents get something that they want to pull over, but again, is that what we want in our neighborhood? Since we had this conversation, I actually watched a food truck. They were cleaning their food truck. Basically, take their grease trap or whatever and pour it down what would eventually go into our sewers. So there's a bunch of questions I can ask. I mean, health requirements and so on. You can, some places, Eagleville doesn't allow it at all. Andrew spoke last time in March. He bragged that Nolensville did not have any food trucks, but you're wrong. We found out they do. In Nolensville, you can have food trucks, but why you don't see them is because you cannot put them. They have to be behind a building. They got to be out of sight, and for obvious reasons that I'm trying to say here. So I hope some of these things may have helped. And then the first page, we kind of given you some ideas on what you could adopt. Should you not say, hey, let's keep it as is, or let's get rid of them altogether. But I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all may have. There's actually 5 permitted in Nolensville. So
I think, and I don't even know if it can. I don't even know if it can be proven. But I think you bring up a valid point: is taxes. There's no way of knowing if they're paying the proper taxes. Is there, Danielle?
No.
And I was going to ask Bo, but Bo and you kind of on the same page. We got people that are spending top dollar on brick and mortar. They have employees, they're paying taxes, they're doing all of that kind of things. And then there's been a couple times that I've talked to Joe, and he's went out to a couple of them, and there were no grease traps, they weren't anything. So I think there's certain issues that I find about it. I don't have a lot against them making a living, but at the same time, we've been working for years on trying to clean Laverne up. Now, is those food trucks the big thing? I don't think so, but we can't take care of everything. We got to do the little things as much as codes have been working their butts off trying to keep things cleaned up. And there again, I think as this board, it's our decision. We need to collectively come together, listen to our economic, listen to planning, listen to codes, and make a decision, or throw this thing away and just let things go as they are. One or the other. That's our power, and that's what we need to do.
Evan, can we do what Eagleville did and just not have food trucks?
No. And the same theory about communities don't want to have stores that sell pornography. You can't ban it. You can zone it to locations. You can put it in parts of the city. You can regulate it, but you can't outright ban it.
Could we restrict it to where it is not allowed in any overlay district or on any commercial property?
Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't do that.
Tom, didn't you tell me, or maybe somebody, so does Franklin have food trucks? I know we're not the same, but I'm just
I think
asking.
we threw it around when we talked about it last. I can't tell you. We didn't look into Franklin. I didn't think that was a good comparison to Laverne, but the ones that we gave you, I think, are. My guess would be no, and if not, probably to what Evan's saying, is certainly regulated to an area or to maybe carnivals or city events or something to that effect. I think the common thread of all the things that you see is that what the mayor said, there's in no commercial area. So to get it out of your overlay, I think would certainly, it would no longer compete with people that are wanting to come in and in bringing brick and mortar. Another way to look at it, Steve, is this. If you just get a number, if say $1,000 are spent on food and beverage in the city of Laverne annually, and it's much more. It's into the hundreds of millions of dollars. But let's just say it was $1,000. Those food trucks aren't bringing in new tax dollars. But they are with the new, whether it be Panda, whether it be Chipotle, whether it be some of the other things that are coming down the road, they're competing for those dollars. So you're just taking that pie and you're splitting it. Now, again, if you look at it, if you look, is that who you want to have on your road, on your main corridors? So, to me, again, I'm trying very hard not to tell you how I really feel, but I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, I don't think that they are. They don't align with what our goals are for the future and bringing in national chains and major restaurants or even quality mom and pop brick and mortar restaurants. I hope that answers that.
But some of the people that you have shown around Laverne, particularly on Murfreesboro Road, have made comments about that.
I would tell you just about every time that we go down the road and they see it, because you can't escape it. I mean, right around the corner from where you live, I'm not going to say which one it is. The truck has got to be certainly into 20, 30, 40 years old. It's not been kept up. Now, I know there's others that you and I spoke about that are brand new trucks and they take good care of it and people rave about their food. But again, if you're going to ask me which one is where we need to be moving forward with the goals that you've kind of laid on our department to kind of go after, I'm going to go every day with getting it out of the commercial areas.
So you think by not seeing them it would help when you are showing people around?
Steve, you just said a minute ago, little things, and I think it's that'd be, how many are there? There's probably 10, 15, 20 of them in Laverne. That would be, to me, an upgrade if you got it out of your overlay district. Again, if Bruce, what were we talking about? Where you did something where there was like twice a week at the park or something like that, where they, if
Food
that
truck
would be
rally.
something that, I'm sorry?
A food truck
Like
rally.
like a rally or something, I don't have a problem with that. But sitting right in front of, as you're going down the road, I mean, you make your decision whether that looks what you want Laverne to look like. So I hope that's, again, I'm trying very hard because some of these people work very hard, and I take nothing from them, but it's not what I think, what everyone in this room wants the future of Laverne to be.
So, Vice Mayor, no, to answer your question, Franklin does allow for food trucks. They go through a very similar permitting process that we do for Franklin, Tennessee. But, Bruce, would this need to go through PC first, or can it just go through the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to update this?
Yeah, I think it would just be a matter of writing the ordinance and taking it through this board, unless we're changing the actual zoning ordinance. In that case, it would go through PC. But this ordinance, existing ordinance that we have, is in the municipal code. It's not a zoning regulation specifically.
I would state then, and if anyone sees any differently, you can give Bruce kind of direction, but can we draft something that restricts food trucks to industrial property outside of overlay districts, which we have 4 now, and then we can adopt. I would say the 2 big ones are, or the 3 big ones are the no, not on unimproved lots, must leave the site at the end of the day, and what's it called? The park, the public restrooms.
So Evan, what, I guess I didn't know, but what's the, why do they have so much power as far as, I don't know what I'm trying to ask.
I think I do. Vice Mayor, it's not that they have power. It's that the First Amendment gives people the right to practice a business. Like, for example, there have been times in the past during my tenure as city attorney where we wanted to ban the sale of like fortune telling and that type of business activity that some people might find offensive or noxious or not pro-economic development. Or again, using the example of like a pornography shop, that's not on anybody's radar screen when you're showing around a nice restaurant. They don't want to be located next to a pornography store. Those uses, you can't ban them because of the First Amendment, but you can zone them out. So it's not that food trucks have some special power. It's that they've got the right to do the business, but the city has the right to say, if you're going to do that, you're going to do it here. And this is the way you're going to do it.
And what about, there's a couple I know of that they have a business and then they have their own food truck, which makes no sense.
Well, the food truck essentially wouldn't be able to operate if the board adopts at least what I've proposed, because the business would be in a commercial zone and food trucks would be restricted to commercial zones to industrial zones, which those two clash. So they would have to either relocate it to another municipality or to another spot. But if y'all have other suggestions or other ideas, I mean, that's what the workshop's for, is to have these kind of discussions.
I just think getting them off the main drag and I'm certainly not going against the First Amendment, but getting them out of harm's way for our economic teams working hard to try and get, but people, Kyle's been around here for a long time. Kyle, just give us a little opinion, what you think. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but I'm just trying to ask somebody that's been around Laverne for a long time and seen the...
I think one of the issues is them being set up for years on years, because we've had some of the same ones be at the same location. Well, if you're having success at selling your product, then why don't you invest in the city and actually put a building there, as opposed to just continuing to have the food truck. So I kind of like some of these have a time frame that, you know, they can only be there for whether it be a couple of days and have to move, or you just can't be there continually. because that's some of the ones we have is when they get here, they've been here for a year or two in the same exact spot, same location, don't move. At that point, why don't you build a building?
Okay.
There's just a couple of questions I have. Danielle, presently, on the brick and mortar stores, how do we know their sales tax? What mechanism does that drive of a brick and mortar place that they generate 100,000? How do we know that?
I can look it up online
Okay.
with the state site.
So here's my comment. It involves the economic department, the plan department, engineering, legal, as well as Bruce getting involved too. So my recommendation would be to get a meeting set up between economic development, planning, engineering, and Steve, as Steve is the entrepreneur of food. And
Connoisseur.
Why do I feel insulted?
just a meeting and just take the information here, discuss it amongst all the departments because everyone's involved, parking, business licenses, tax, sales tax, and then get that to Bruce and to Evan to come up with a draft ordinance and then bring back the board's recommendation. That's my comment.
Tom?
I mean, again, this is your, we work at your will, so if that's where you want to go, that's fine. Are you asking me personally? I mean, I kind of like the mayor's idea, but that's just me. But
That's why you're up here. That's why I brought you out of your cave.
Well, let me do this because we've got some heads in here. Bo, Gary, I know y'all are both back there. Can you come up here? What are your thoughts?
I would recommend an exclusion. So we say no food trucks in overlay zones, but an exclusion for major construction projects. Because I was out on the co-op project today. I've lived most of my life on construction projects, and the food trucks coming in at lunch, feeding the workers, that's what they're really for. So technically, the food truck on the co-op is parking in the overlay district, but they're serving the workers in a temporary basis. They're leaving. They're doing anything you want a food truck to do. And we have Twinning Station coming up. Parts of that might extend into the Walton Road overlay district. So an exclusion for large construction sites would be my recommendation.
Well, that might also be considered a canteen truck and not necessarily a food truck, because our existing ordinance, there's 3 categories. You have ice cream trucks, canteen trucks, and food trucks. So that might be more of a canteen truck instead of a food truck.
The canteen trucks are the ones that's got the doors that open up and got the food on the sides and stuff, right?
Roach coaches, yes, sir.
Roach, yeah. That's what we used to call it.
That's what we
roach
call
coaches.
them.
Can't wait to see that in the minutes.
But on my last construction project, it was similar in size to co-op, and they did park food trucks. We had 2 of them, and it was a wonderful thing to have. We had our options.
Well,
of the
there
2
again,
types of
that's
food.
like Kyle was saying, they just not coming out there and setting up for years and yeah, I mean.
Yeah, when the construction's over, they're gone.
And when Tom's showing someone around the city, they don't see them.
Correct. Or it makes sense because they're on a construction site.
And I would say, somebody brought up Twinning Station, but like whenever it does get built, you may have a little, I don't know if they're going to do little concerts or little things like that. If they do, they're probably going to want to have food trucks that come in for like a night or 2. And so that needs to be thought of, because you don't want to just outright ban them, because if you're trying to get people to come to an event that they're sponsoring or whatever, that's not really city and it's going to be commercial property.
Bo?
I think Tom, you covered it all. I mean, there's not a lot he didn't cover, so good job. They add a certain amount of clutter to the city that goes against what the architectural overlay is trying to achieve, which he's already said. Tom's already said that, but it does seem like it's working against, counterproductive to the architectural overlay.
Okay.
That's my first thing, and then I do think y'all have probably heard, or we've talked in here before. Some cities call it a food truck rodeo, which would be more like Kyle was talking about, a special event, community event, concert, Halloween in the park, those things. And so, are we currently allowing, like at Halloween in the park, food trucks, or I don't know.
Not at that event, but we do have.
At other events, okay. So, just keep that in mind as we plan and go forward.
Okay.
So take that a step farther, David. I have seen those advertised. How hard is that to put one of those together? You have any idea? Because I've seen those, and they seem to be.
I don't know how difficult it would be to put a food truck rally together. We could definitely explore it. When we have events, the only food trucks that we allow are permitted by the city. So codes gives us a list. If they're not on that list and they haven't been permitted and inspected by the city, then we don't include them. We don't issue permits for food trucks, ice cream trucks, individuals to sell in the park unless it is a city-related event. So if you just got a food truck cruising through the park or setting up, they're going to be asked to leave unless it's a city-sponsored event.
Okay.
David, there's right by our house at the Williamson Davy Farm, every Tuesday during the spring, summer, fall, they have a food truck rally, and there's like 15 trucks that have to be driven there, and they sell food till they're out of food. And I've taken my family there before, but they only show up for the event and then leave.
So I'm glad you all brought that up, and I'm glad because I wanted to ask Tom, because we talked about it a little bit, health department stuff, permits and stuff. Tom, we talked a little bit, I guess, who goes out and does that with us, the city?
Thomas.
Lawrence,
Codes, yeah.
and Codes.
Okay. So,
The one thing I want to say about that, talking to Joe, and you may have had the same conversation with them, it's very difficult for them to enforce. I mean, with all they've got going on to make sure that stays up to date and so on. So, again, it's hit or miss. Whether are we getting taxes? Are they dumping their garbage here and driving down the road? Are they running it down our stormwater? And to your point, I mean, how is the food up to standards? I would guess that it is.
so do they, like in regular restaurants, they have health inspectors that come up and they got the little thing up? Do food trucks have that?
Yes.
In order to get a mobile food service permit from the city, they have to provide a copy of their health inspection, health department license or permit. And they also have to provide a copy of their business license that's either issued by us or by their home-based county.
And how often do they have to show that?
Well, the permit is renewed, I believe, every year.
But the health inspection?
They should be providing that every year.
So they only get inspected once a year?
Well, that's only how often we review it
Right.
from a city perspective. They could be inspected more than that, but from a city perspective, for the documents that we're reviewing, it's a once a year review.
All right. Well, like I said, we need to come up, this board, with a plan, talk with the whoever, and make a decision. And either let it ride, kick the can down the road, let somebody else worry about it, or we can take care of it. But I think as hard as our economic team, our codes, our planning, everybody's working to try to make our city a little bit better every day. We need to make a decision, and I understand we got to stay within what Evan says, within that criteria, and but we do need to make a decision. Now, we can talk about it, my personal opinion, but I don't want to do that. I'll just, because I think you'd be outcasted if you do that. But
So, Bruce, my request would be, can you and Evan get together and put something together for the February meeting? This way we have a time frame with it, and to come back based on everything that was said here with this discussion, take in mind some of the stuff that was brought up by Gary, Bo, and Tom, and of course get feedback from Joe and kind of go from there with putting something together for us.
Yes, sir.
Yes, absolutely.
I'd like to hear what Joe and Thomas has to say also.
Yeah, I'll say Joe was planning on being here tonight. He went home. He didn't feel good, so
Yeah, I know.
he'll hopefully be feeling better by Thursday. If not, definitely, hopefully the next workshop.
Yeah, I talked to him the other day. I didn't know he wasn't here, though. I looked over.
I can tell you, I've talked to him about it, and he said the easiest thing for him is to do away with it, which I understand we can't. But if we put something together that pulls back the overlays, but still addresses some of the twinning station issues and cantina trucks and whatnot, we might have something that can come before this board to vote on.
Just a couple of the items on that. If it's not already in the ordinance, to ensure that they have a letter from the landowner that they're entitled to be there, and insurance policy.
I believe those are both in the current ordinance.
So even if the landowner, Evan, says they can be there, if we have an ordinance, we override that, correct?
Yes, sir. That's right. Yep.
It'd be similar to someone opening up like a vape store in a commercial area, but not going through any of the proper processes. If they, if even though they own the building, if they don't do what the city tells them to with restrictions or zoning, they can't move forward with it.
Now, one of the things that I had thought about in the beginning before I had these conversations was, and I think I told Bruce, was allowing them like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., but they can't be there before 10, and they have to leave at 6, and they can't be there on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. That was my original thing. And then I thought, well, if we do something like that, they may get to the point. Is that legal, Evan?
Well, yes. I mean, you can put, with some exception, pretty much any regulation you want to put on.
Because then I thought, well, if we put that kind of time frame in days, they're going to get tired of setting up, period.
Well,
The one thing you can't do, let me just clarify that you don't want to artificially create such stringent requirements that the net effect is they can't operate, because that's a de facto banning, and the law will look through that and see what's actually taking place. So if you say we're not going to ban food trucks, but I'm going to make it so burdensome that there'll never be a food truck.
Well, that was not my original.
No, I know that. I just want to be clear about that there is a limit to what you can do on that.
and at the same time, logistically, that would be a nightmare because you would need to have staff here during those hours to make sure that they aren't open before or after those times or days, and it'd be a fun process for Joe and his team.
Thank you, fellas, very much. But yeah, we need to. What was it Barney Fife used to say? Nip it. One way or the other.
I think just allowing them in the industrial areas outside of the overlay would be a fair thing, because we have a lot of industrial, and there's opportunity there. So with that, we're going to move on to the mayor and alderman comments. Alderman Coates.
Not this evening. I'm good.
Vice Mayor No.
Just a shout out. The Laverne seniors got their new wee bowling shirts today, and they're beautiful. Kristen did a great job, but she couldn't have done it without them gentlemen right back there from Infomark. As always, we appreciate it. The seniors are ecstatic. They love their wee bowling. Thank you.
Well, I want to say thank you to our team, Thomas, Sarah, Kyle, Juliet, where we recently went to ICSC New York, spoke with a lot of different businesses. There's some opportunities for Laverne to be able to shine and thrive and add new businesses, new components to our area. So I think 2026 is going to be a very meaningful year for the city. We have a lot of ability to build on our strengths and to keep moving the city forward. So thank you to the whole team, not just for our New York trip, but for the whole year. I think if you look throughout the city compared to where we were even a year ago, it is moving along amazingly. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And that doesn't stop just at the economic team, that, our streets team, our planning, our engineering team, our administration, our finance. Everybody has a different role to play in there. Police, fire, library. There's so much that goes into this city, and we can't do what we want to for the residents without everyone pitching in and doing their part. So thank you. We appreciate everybody. Look forward to 2026. And as Vice Mayor No just reminded me, condolences to Thomas with your father. With that, I call this meeting adjourned.